it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Sunday, July 31st. So today we have the moon in Virgo all day. Of course, we moved into Virgo energy yesterday. This is helping us to reorganize, restructure our emotions and our thoughts. We definitely need a little bit of downtime to become a little bit more grounded than we have been. And this particular Earth energy is exactly what we need to take the big vision, the big dreams, the big overly exaggerated ideas that we would have gotten under the new moon in Leo, and we get to break it down. We get to analyze it. We get to add strategy to our plans in order for us to actually be able to bring them to life. Now, today we do have a little bit of a cluster F to start the day off with, but good news, we will be shifting out of that little bit of heavy energy later on in the day. There are 11 different aspects here today, and 6 of them involve the moon. Now, just keep in mind that we are under the influence of this Uranus and True Node conjunction. It is a beautiful thing. There are sudden changes, sudden shifts coming in. We are wrapping up the last day of July, which means the pressure is on to absorb the life lessons of 7. If you need a little bit of a refresher on what July was supposed to teach us, please go back and listen to the July energy forecast. That'll give you a little bit of an overview on how it is that you've done so far. And of course, the energy is preparing us to move into August. So right out of the gate, we actually have a pretty tough aspect that we've been kind of sitting in for the last 2 days, although it is going direct here first thing this morning. It is between Mercury and Saturn. So Mercury rules over our mental plane, our thoughts, our information, our communication. Mercury is in Leo energy. So we're thinking big. This is why we're having big ideas. This is why we're having big thoughts, big opinions. This is why we're having heart-to-heart conversations, why we're expressing ourselves from our heart and soul, from our most authentic self. We want to be heard. And the opposition is with Saturn, the Lord of Karma, who is retrograde in Aquarius energy. So an opposition never feels good. And of course, Saturn tends to bring in a little bit of a somber attitude, a little bit of a negative Nancy vibe. What I will say is that this is the aspect responsible for our negative and pessimistic attitude over the last couple of days. We were flying high under that new moon in Leo, and then suddenly we took a nosedive deep into the darkness, deep into the depths of our not so positive self. Now we're second guessing everything. Now we're speaking fear into our plans. Now we're looking at some of the things that we thought we knew, and we're having to revisit and revise those particular thoughts. This is also really going to highlight for us where it is that we're having mental blockages, because of course, Mercury being in Leo wants to think positive, wants to be optimistic, wants those big visions, those dreams, and Saturn is constantly just coming down on us to pump the brakes, to reflect past experiences, see where we can pluck out wisdom so that we're not jumping into things without thinking about things very clearly. This is a problem for us because right now we're approaching a timeline jump. And right now we're having a hard time trusting our intuition, trusting our gut, trusting our instincts. And this is a pretty dramatic shift because, again, back around the new moon in Leo, we were in alignment with our heart, with our soul, with our higher self, with the plan, with our intuition, with what it is that we knew to be true. And now this particular energy is really rocking us, really bringing us down a couple of pegs to see where it is that maybe we have to sort through our ego selves, our shadow selves, in order to recognize where the blockages are in our unconscious selves so that we can address it, we can heal it, we can integrate it, and we can free it up so that we can move on and get back to that alignment with our higher self, with the dream, with the vision that we're now being inspired to pursue. The moon in Virgo bumps into the sun. Anytime we have the moon and the sun interacting, it's almost like an overlap. The moon, very emotional, unconscious self, intuition attached to the past, while the sun in the here and now, shining a bright light on where in our lives we need to put our time, energy, attention, and basically life force energy if we want to see anything change. Now, the moon in Virgo is very over analytical, very judgmental, highly critical of oneself. We need to be. We need to do a deep dive in our psyche, in our behaviors, in our memories, in our emotions, in our unconscious self. We need to tear things down. We need to pick things apart in order to recognize where it is that we have to build ourselves up better in a very much stronger way than obviously we currently are, or else we wouldn't have to rip ourselves down and tear ourselves apart. So the moon in Virgo wants to strip away everything, wants to tear these things down so that we can actually analyze the minute details of our psyche, of our heart space. This Virgo energy wants to heal, but we have to feel what it is that we have to heal. And the sun over here in Leo energy is shining a bright light on where it is that maybe we're not being brave and bold and courageous enough, where it is that maybe we have adopted the mentality of the scared little kitten curled up in a ball in a cave licking one's wounds, instead of embodying the qualities and characteristics of the proud, bold, brave, courageous lion, the king of the jungle. Now, the sun is illuminating for us what it is that we have to do within ourselves, where we need to pour our time and attention into. And right now, the sun in Leo is asking us to open up, asking us to be real, to be authentic, to blossom, to put ourselves out there. But the nervous Nancy energy of the moon being in Virgo is very hesitant in letting us do that. The moon is really fixated on all the reasons of why we can't, why we shouldn't, why we won't, while the sun is just saying, you know what, screw all that. This is a time to forget about the past. Don't analyze everything right to death. Just follow your heart and see where that takes you. The moon is going to complicate things even more by interacting with Jupiter, who is now retrograde in Aries energy. This is going to magnify the inner narrative that we have that right now isn't so positive, isn't so loving, isn't so encouraging. This particular energy is going to turn the volume up on whatever it is that we're thinking and feeling. And right now, we aren't feeling the best. Again, just picking ourselves apart. Yes, it's part of the process in order to realize where our ego has too much power, where our inner narrative needs a little bit of a renovation in order to be a little bit more encouraging. But this particular energy is kind of sucking the life, the magic out of the dreams that we just had a couple of days ago. Now, to add a little bit of more fuel to the fire, we have Venus, who is in Cancer energy, squaring, getting into the boxing ring, fighting it out with Chiron, who is retrograde in Aries, the wounded healer. This is highlighting for us where it is that we're a little bit afraid of a commitment, where it is that we're a little bit fearful of being our raw, vulnerable selves, where it is that we're a little bit cautious of being too open, too vulnerable, too intimate with those that we love. This is highlighting for us our insecurities, our doubts. Sometimes we want so badly to be in alignment with our partner, with those that we love. We want that level of intimacy so bad that we become afraid of it. And instead of putting ourselves out there, we pull ourselves back. Sometimes we want love so freaking badly that we get stuck in wondering if we're actually unlovable. Sometimes we look at our relationships and wonder if we are settling because we are not with the right kinds of people that are giving us love and support and encouragement. And when we have this realization, we start picking apart our own worth, our own value. This, although very uncomfortable, is 100% needed because a square is an aspect that makes us uncomfortable in order for us to recognize where change and transformation is needed the most. The moon goes ahead and bumps into Chiron shortly after, literally only like 20 minutes after. And this is a positive aspect, which means that whatever funk we've been sitting in with that inner narrative, ripping ourselves down, tearing ourselves apart, suddenly a light bulb goes off. Because again, the moon in Virgo wants to fix the problems, wants to come up with solutions to said problems. But we have to sit in the funk in order to recognize that there is a problem, and then we can begin to start to heal that. The moon interacting with Chiron right now is a huge indicator that something flipped off in our mind. We realized where we were being too harsh, too judgmental, too heavy, too mean, especially to ourselves. And in that realization, our higher self, our soul, our spirit says, nah, we have to do better. We have to be more nurturing. We have to love ourselves first if we ever expect to be loved in return by someone else. Why? Because there's wounds, there's voids within ourselves that are attracting these people that are proving to us that these wounds are still alive and well by making us feel bad, making us feel unlovable, making us feel unworthy. And in that moment, because the moon in Virgo is very deep, very analytical, especially in our psychology, one would say, are these people actually making me feel all of these things? Or do I just naturally feel all of these things because of the lack of self-love and self-worth that I feel within myself? Recognizing that every single relationship and interaction that we have in our exterior realm is nothing but a mirror to where it is that we are in our own current healing journey. So if you find that you are at odds with certain friendships, certain partners, certain interactions, please understand that it's not these people making you feel a certain way. This is you feeling a certain way and attracting these people to remind you to do the work on these wounds in the inside of yourself to fill the void so that you're not looking outside of yourself for other people to make you feel validated and make you feel whole. Mercury is going to bump into Jupiter at this time, just when we started to feel okay, just when the light bulb went off, just when we started rewriting the narrative. Mercury bumps into Jupiter in not such a nice way. Now, this is a necessary way, but this turns the volume up on all the information. The spark, the light bulb that we just had go off, suddenly it unlocked an ocean of memories, of emotions, of thoughts. We have all this information flooding into our mental plane. We're trying to process it. We're trying to sort through it. We're trying to look at all the details on why we feel this way, how we ended up here, what the primary root cause of our unlovableness, our unworthiness, where all these emotions are coming from. Now we have a lot floating around in our head. And what happens is, because Jupiter wants to magnify things, is we feel like our head and our heart are going to explode. Even more than that, we're sitting in a lot of over-exaggerated thoughts and emotions. Okay, so everything is going to feel a lot bigger than it actually is. Everything is going to seem, especially problems, bigger than they actually are, because right now our heads are just growing underneath the pressurized system of having all of these memories unlocked for the information to come in to see why it is that we have the narrative that we currently do. The moon goes ahead and bumps into Pluto, the great transformer, in such a way that would suggest that we do have to do a deep dive in our psyche, in our heart space, in our memories, in our reflection, to figure out where it is that we learned to be less than, to play it small, to give our power away to another person, to give the control over our thoughts, our emotions, our lives to another person, where it is that we learn that it is not best to play big in order to actually get what you want in life, and instead it is better to play small and sit back and let life happen to you. Somewheres along the way, we learned this. This was conditioned to us. Pluto, the great transformer, is the god of the underworld. He takes us through painful experiences where pain and suffering and trauma are at the top of the list because, unfortunately for us, humans only learn when they are uncomfortable, when they are tired of the pain and the suffering. The whole goal that Pluto has is to take us on a trip down memory lane. He is retrograde in Capricorn, mind you. We're taking a trip down memory lane. We're reflecting back through every single experience that we failed to stand in our power, to take control over our lives, to actually do what is right for ourselves, in hopes that it doesn't paralyze us and keep us in that pain and trauma pattern, but hopefully inspire us and motivate us to make a change, to allow those experiences to act as a catalyst. And what the beautiful thing is that both the moon in Virgo and the Pluto energy, they like to analyze the hell out of our inner narrative, of our psyche, of our emotion. Why? Because we have to unearth where this primary operating narrative got planted in our brains, in our unconscious selves, in order for us to address the issue, to solve it. That's what the moon in Virgo is all about, providing solutions to long-term standing problems. Pluto just needs us to do a deep dive into the darkness, into the shadow realm, to examine where it is in this moment of our experience that we learned to play it safe, that we learned to not stand in their power, to not be the best authority over our lives. We need to examine those particular points in time so that we can make another choice point for ourselves in the here and now. And moving forward in the future, we don't repeat the same patterns and behaviors. Now, this is where the energy shifts, 6:37 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The funk is going to be removed in a sense because the sun in Leo trines, which is a beautiful energy, with Jupiter, who is retrograde in Aries, both fire signs. That's why we get the trine. They work together. Fire signs are all about burning away the memories of the past, burning away the ego identity that is keeping us stuck in a pain and trauma pattern, cutting the cord, starting fresh, initiating a brand new chapter, beginning something bold and brave and new. And anytime that the sun makes a beautiful aspect with another planet, we are getting a supercharge of energy because, of course, the sun is our life force energy. So this particular aspect is showing us where we need to grow, where it is that we need to move beyond our past experiences, where it is that we need to expand our minds, expand our emotions, expand the actions that we are willing to take to bust free from the old. This is about seeing the illuminated topics and themes in our life that need improvement. This is about where it is that we have to pour our time, attention, and energy into in order to learn. This recharges us. It makes us a little bit more confident, a little bit more optimistic. This kind of is our hype girl to get us to the point where we're ready to jump into something new. This is going to be a huge illumination on the beginnings that you need to be concentrating on, whether it be in love, in business, in projects, in education. Something new needs to happen in order to get you out of the funk of your past experiences, allowing your ego to keep you in a state of paralysis, not moving forward. This is an aha moment. Venus then goes ahead and bumps into Saturn in a very positive aspect. What we know about this is that we're making headway. We're feeding off of this positive vibe, this optimism, this confidence. Venus, of course, the goddess of love and beauty and worth and pleasure and money, is in Cancer. She's been a little bit overprotective, a little bit defensive, a little bit wah-wah, because she doesn't know what she wants, needs, or desires. She's so connected and attached to the old ways of being treated, the old relationship standards, the old boundaries being tested, damaged, destroyed. She's constantly just in this pattern of behavior of constantly putting everyone else before herself and then gaining a little bit of resentment and then guilt towards having these feelings towards those that they love, because she interjects into other people's lives and tries to navigate other people's lives solely to distract herself from doing the work within herself. So that can be very confusing. And we've been very confused on what it is that we want, need, and desire when it comes to our emotions, our relationships. And what we know is that Saturn, the Lord of Karma, is here retrograde in Aquarian energy to show us where in the past we've sacrificed our own wants, needs, and desires, our own happiness, our own joy, our own pleasure to do what we think that other people want us to do. The Aquarian energy is about the group, the collective, the social responsibility, if you will, to other people. While Venus, the goddess of love and beauty and worth and pleasure and money, needs to honor herself, stand in her truest power, fill her cup up to the top if she ever expects to be the best version of herself to other people. What this particular energy and aspect will do for us is to give us a little bit of a glimpse on where it is that we need to build a stronger, better bridge within our own lives to provide ourselves what it is that we need for ourselves first, without giving our power and energy, attention, and focus away to other people, and then becoming resentful because of it. So we're making some progress here. The moon goes ahead and bumps into Chiron, and this gives us an opportunity to learn and put into action the aha moments that we just had. Now, this will likely come from a situation outside of us in our external realm that we have no control over, that will act as a trigger, act as a catalyst for us to put into motion, into action, some of the aha moments, the inner realm healing that we just kind of awoken to. So this, let me just say, the moon is our emotions. It's our unconscious emotions. In Virgo energy, we just want to fix, we want to heal, we want to solve. Chiron, the wounded healer, is retrograde in Aries, really doing a number on where it is that our ego identity has taken some hits. This could definitely rub salt in the wide open wounds that we still have in order for us to shift our attention to how it is that we're going to heal them. And these wounds are going to be activated by something outside of us, giving us an opportunity to either respond and react from ego, not giving us 2 seconds just acting out of pure emotion, or we get to take a time out, act as the observer, attach to our higher self, see where this is an opportunity to do better, and to choose a different reaction altogether. That's how we break the chain of trauma. That's how we break the chain of reactivity. That's how we bust out of ego and choose our higher self, is to see a situation pop off, give ourselves the time to act as the observer, see the lesson that it could possibly be providing us, and then recognize what it is that we want to do automatically, because that's our ego response, and choose something differently from the highest potential of our highest selves. This is how we change the game. We are going to wrap the day up with the moon sextiling, which is a beautiful energy, with Venus. What we know to be true is that emotionally speaking, we are having some pretty profound insight on what it is that we don't want, what it is that we don't need, what it is we don't want to experience. That is a good thing, because that creates a framework on figuring out what it is that we do want. Venus working very hard on her self-love, on her self-confidence, on her self-esteem. She has to build herself up if she expects to be in personal relationships that mirror back that self-love, that respect, that worth. And right now, the moon in Virgo, it just wants to get down to the nitty-gritty on why it is that we feel this way, what it is we don't want, in order for us to focus in on the details on what this could mean that we do want. This is the beginning stages of us doing a deep dive in our psyche, in our heart space, to figure out what is old, what is exhausted, what is worn out, what is just ready to die, in order for us to initiate a brand new cycle, initiate something new, bring something new to life, so that we can break free from the old patterns and literally elevate ourselves to the next level of self-love, self-worth, and self-exploration, which is what our whole earth journey is all about, is finding our soul's truest expression. And of course, we can't do that repeating old past patterns and behaviors that are ego-led.